Hello,
Ciao.
Hello.
we are live.
Hi,
Hello,
bro.
everybody.
Hello.
We are live with two. Now there are only a few people around here, so just wait
Yep.
for the people is coming. We don't have a big public, but they are very friendly, and we are very happy uh, to have you with us.
Absolutely.
So, ciao Ale, ciao Stefano,
Ciao.
Hi.
Ciao.
Hello.
and
Hello.
let's wait a few seconds.
Yeah. Meanwhile, I have already an important question for both our guests, for Albert and Maxime. I really have dedicated a lot of nights to study this question,
I'm
searching
scared
their
about this.
miniatures. How are you guys?
How are you, Albert?
I'm good. I'm fine. I'm very hot, I have to say, because here in London it's almost 30 degrees, and we don't have
Okay.
aircon, so it's really hot, and therefore I cannot
Wow.
paint these days.
Yeah,
Okay.
I believe so.
But otherwise, I'm good.
and you?
And you, Maxime?
I'm super fine as well. It's less hot than last week in Paris, so that's fine. And I just bought a new palette to be able to paint
Ah.
Oh,
with
cool.
the hot weather. But this is not a gift. I had to pay for this.
Okay.
Sometimes you
I'm
have to
sure
pay.
that's also involved.
They will send it to you for free.
I've got the same. It's bigger than the other one. This is the biggest.
It looks really good because
Isn't it?
the previous one was pretty
Wow.
old.
Okay.
Yeah. It started to.
Next time you could directly buy a swimming pool where you can paint inside it. So color will
Exactly.
will
Exactly.
stay wet forever. But meanwhile, you will always already be.
Yeah, and there is
enjoy.
mold everywhere on the sponges. The smell is just horrible.
Yeah.
It's a nightmare.
It's like a gorgonzola cheese, by the way.
Exactly. It starts
Oh,
it's melting. It's alive.
it reminds me something about Nargle.
Oh yeah. That I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
it's a big inspiration.
Yeah,
It's disgusting. It's really disgusting.
I use the small one.
You have the small one, Albert.
The small one, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
how can you use
I
that?
went for.
It's
I went
very
for the big
small,
one.
that one. Yeah, I bought the big one. I tried a small one, but
Who's got the bigger one? The biggest one? Who have the biggest palette?
Among us
I
two,
think-
Maxime for sure. Yeah, I use a pretty small one because I keep changing the paper quite often. So
And
Oh,
look
really?
how
Okay.
fancy is this paper. I never had this palette before, and this is like the corners are round. It's crazy. I love
yeah,
it.
but
Amazing.
Luxury.
that paper is the version 1, because I think there's the version 2 that you can wash under the water.
Oh, whoa,
Yeah,
even
and
fancier.
reuse.
That's nice.
yeah, you can rinse it in the sink and then you can reuse it again.
Do you
Wow.
have Albert?
Both.
I have it. But somehow I prefer version 1, the one that you just use once and throw it away. I don't know why.
Oh, really?
Maybe
Okay.
the other one
Okay.
dries faster in my experience, but I don't know.
This is
You
a
know,
good
back in the
tip. I
days,
mean,
I was
you can
keeping
see-
all
you can- you can say
my
the-
sheet of paper. Sorry, cross conversation.
I was just wondering what the difference is between the two kinds of papers.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure, but yeah. I don't know. I just use the small one, the small palette with the version 1 paper.
Or in the meantime,
Okay.
the guys
All
are
right.
coming in.
Hello, everyone. Luca, legend in Italy, Luca Massetti.
Yeah.
Yes.
Marco, Luca, Davide,
Dario.
Stefano, Ale, Dario. Ciao a tutti. Welcome here.
Poppy.
To the master.
Buonasera.
Good
So,
evening to the masters of the universe. I mean, yeah.
Yes.
This
I
is
wish.
giving me the start point. I mean, first of all, let me say that I'm very honored to have you, Albert, and Maxime here. With Maxime is the first time that we met and we talk. So
Oh yeah.
pleasure
That's
to
true.
meet you. And let me say, we've got two titans of this hobby here this evening. So thank you very much to be here with us.
My pleasure.
Thank you for yours.
It's a real pleasure for all of us, and thank you to accept the stupid invitations. But really, it was so funny for me to ask you, because I have it in mind since when I knew there was Golden Demon. So I said, okay, it's time to talk with them, and now it's possible finally.
Have you tried, Fabrizio? Do you have some introduction? You know, anyone knows Albert and Maxime, but maybe you prepare something. I don't know. But
no, I never prepared.
I don't know
anything.
if they know what we are doing here. I mean, like Pittori Senza Gloria. As many times we said, Pittori Senza Gloria started with the feelings of to join and tight the community, the Italian community. Like that. We try our best to make up a talk show talking about our passions, with this painting miniatures, and everything that is related to this little world. So really appreciate and really thank you for being here and to be part of this community, little community, because we are not so much.
Italian community usually is only with little numbers. So maybe people will see later, not in live. We'll see later on the YouTube channel. But now I think it's time to talk about you, about your art, if it's okay for you. And so you said before, but we will say another one. You have did you have time to paint all days, or is just too hot now to paint?
Yeah, well, here in London it's super hot these days, so I'm not really doing much painting these days. To be fair, after Golden Demon, I had painted so much that I wanted to stop for 1 month at least anyway, and relax a little bit, watch some movies and do all the things that I wanted to do, and I had kind of postponed in order to finish the figure. And now I am starting a small project that Maxime knows very well, actually. It's the classic orc on a boar by Brian Nelson.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'm starting to prepare the figure. But yeah, it's a bit too hot these days. So maybe from next week, when the heat wave goes away, I will go into it again.
It's the old one.
On my desk as well.
The old orc. Fantastic. Beautiful. I love that.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
I think you cannot
How
see
much?
it. You remember?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. The old ones.
Yeah.
The old ones. Yeah, cool.
Yeah, this one.
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh, you have the same.
Wow.
Yeah.
So cool.
Oh,
So cool.
That's what we're working on.
Okay.
Okay.
It will be for the next Golden Demon, or just for fun?
Just for fun. Then again, I don't know if it turns out great. I may as well enter it.
But
Let's
talk about where you find out the ideas, or maybe you wake up in the morning and say, oh, this evening I want to start this project, or is something deeper. I mean, you think about I to do that and try to do things. How starts the project in your mind? I mean,
maybe Maxime, you want to go first for this one?
Yeah. This way I can reply to the previous question. In fact, I cannot paint as much as I would like to, so I'm thinking a lot of miniature, about project and things like that. And when I have a project in my mind, I try to first to have a clear image of the project. Like I try to picture it myself. And then when I have something that is clear, in a way.
Okay.
I start to do the whole project, but in my head, to try to solve all the problem, you know. So I try to think about the pose, the model, the colors, the texture, the thing like that. And then when everything is clear, I need to start to go from the idea to the object. And usually it's really interesting, this process, because even if it's clear in your mind, the object is still very different because sometimes you don't have the skill to make what you want, because sometimes the idea was just not good, or sometimes the project changed. So usually it starts with a drawing, like this one, for example. It's
cool.
a kind of a drawing for the Nuggle Dude. And usually I don't work too much on the drawing, because the pleasure is also to discover the model, to discover it through the process. So I don't like to do too much concept art. And then I go to the project. So yeah. So I have a kind of library in my head of possible projects.
Yeah, it's really interesting to hear Maxime say that, because it's the exact same way how I approach projects. Like I have this, like a list in my head of things that I would like to do, but obviously because time is limited, right? I have to be very, somehow I have to choose what it is that I would really like to do. But as Maxime was explaining, it's the exact same thing for me. Before I even start converting or sculpting or doing anything, there is a brainstorming phase where all I do is think, and obviously I have the pieces in my hand, and if it's a conversion, right? For example, I will position I will play with all these different ideas, and this can take like weeks or even the high elf for the Golden Demon last edition, I spent maybe 3 weeks just thinking of different of the composition of the different color schemes that I want to do, and then when exactly it's exactly what he was saying, like what Maxime was saying, as the idea kind of becomes more specific in my mind, then that's when I start working on the thing. But again, it's exactly what Maxime was saying. Some things change along the process, because it's really difficult. Like the idea to begin with, as much as I try to define it in my head, there's some areas that are still blurry, right? It's not like every single detail is clear in my mind. I have a clear image of what I want to do, but not to the tiny details, right? So these kinds of things develop, during the process of.
Sure. Yeah.
But Albert is doing something really interesting, and he's one of the best at this. He's doing like concepts, like quick sculpts with blue tack. He's doing a draft with blue tack, and I think he is the best blue tack sculptor I know. Like I really like his design in blue tack.
Because it's so easy to reposition things, and play with.
But everything is already there. Like the bird, I remember on the drop, everything, the beard, everything is nice. It's perfect. I really like that. We should keep the blue tack.
This is interesting, because please, Fabrizio, put the elf back, please.
Okay.
Because this is also awesome. This is an epic figure you did. Is perfect, in balanced, in space, in harmony. Did you have in mind exactly these things, or is built up during the process? And then I saw around. I didn't know that, but you put together old stuff in a new style, and recalling back the old figure.
Exactly, right. Because I started painting Warhammer in 1998, maybe, or 97, when I was a little boy, like 9 years old or 10 years old. So I have a lot of nostalgia, for those early figures, and so I like to make classic pieces that at the same time feel modern, but with this nod to the past in a way. So that's why my figures, I always try to incorporate like a few maybe metal beads or whatever, But then at the same time, I want to make them feel modern. I don't want it to feel like it's a piece from the 90s. You know, it has to feel a modern figure, but with some details that make it feel classic. That's more or less what I try to do.
Yeah.
Are you actually?
If everything is in my head, so obviously, before I started painting, I didn't decide like, okay, the gemstones on the sword are going to be blue, and whatever is going to be, you know, it's not that specific. But the general idea that I want it in very, you know, luminous colors with blues and turquoise and whites and so on, and purples. This is obviously decided, and then as I, you know.
And also, I suppose the composition as well. I mean, there's
So there's these two things, right? There's once the physical composition, like the actual build of the figure, this obviously has to be, you know, thought before you actually do it, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, like for example, with this model, I did like the banner was very different at the beginning. Instead of like the threads, it had like a floating like a flag almost. But it didn't quite work. So yeah, I mean, it's this brainstorming phase that I was talking about, right? You play with all these things, the balance, you know, the heavy elements in each area of the figure. So you keep playing with these things, and in the end, you reach the perfect combination, you know, of elements. Actually, I wrote a post about this model with some composition ideas that I had. Like I did with the 40K Gretchen last year. I made an Instagram post about composition.
Yeah, it was really interesting. I have to admit that.
I'm thinking I may do the same with this one.
So
you know,
at the end, you choose the model. You decide I want to do an elf, and then you go into what you want to do.
Exactly. So exactly, the original idea is okay. I've done a lot of dwarves. I've done a lot of goblins and orcs. And what's the other classic fantasy race? It's like elves, right? Typically, and I actually like them very much. They're so elegant. You know, and there's good high elf models as well that have been entered in the past, like Martin Futit's one from 2005. So I wanted to do something very elegant, you know, in an elf.
And it matched perfectly with your style, so it's
right.
Awesome.
It's very precise. But what I wanted to do with this piece is kind of play with the ambiguity, so that it could both pass as a classic high elf, and at the same time it could be a Lumineth in the Age of Sigmar universe. You know, I did something in between that could work in both universe. So in my head, it was more of a classic high elf. But then again,
I totally appreciate this kind of. I mean, I prefer the classic elf. I mean, I like the newest elf, but not. I mean, indeed, in this version that you did, probably is the best thing that you can find out in Warhammer Elf, in my point of view.
Absolutely.
I appreciate it.
But are you or Maxime actually hyped for Old World, both for new models or also, I don't know if you play actually any board game?
Not really. Do you play, Maxime?
No. I never played any board game. I think I really don't like to play board games and all kind of games. I don't like games, in fact. But I'm not so hyped about all the new releases. Like I think I gave up Games Workshop releases. I'm painting a model that is 13 years old now. I'm painting a Terminator from the old Space Hulk. So I really don't care anymore. I will do the thing as I want to make them.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same thing.
Maxime. Sorry, Albert. Move.
No, I was just saying it's the same thing. Like I appreciate the new stuff, and if I like it, I will buy it. But yeah, I'm not like this kind of people that buy everything, you know, all the time.
Okay, yeah. Are you interested more in the lore, or you know, is fantasy? I mean, or more than the games itself?
Basically. I mean, I played a little bit when I was a teenager, but like 20 years ago. So.
And I really like the lore as well, more than the game, and I really like the 40K lore and the classic old world lore. I really don't know anything about AOS, but I like the model, and I buy a lot of model, but I know that I will paint them like in 10 years, so I need to first.
So you buy models, you buy your wet palette. So it's impossible for you.
I'm buying a lot of things. Yeah.
You are not an influencer.
No. I'm buying everything. I need to buy my model. I'm going to buy a new camera as well. So if someone is working at Panasonic there, you can send it to me.
Yes. You're going to make stuff for to share your content in the future.
No, in fact, I'm just taking my picture with my phone since 10 years, and I think I really need to up my game and try to start a nice picture. As Fabrizio, you may have seen that all my pictures are blurry and horrible, so I really need to up the game, I think. Yeah.
It's the exact same thing with me. I always ask Arnau to take the pictures for me. So I think Maxime and I are very
the more
similar.
I know Albert, the more I realize that in fact we are really close. We have the same kind of obsession.
So what about this? This is totally self-sculpt, and I want to know the story behind this model, because in part I know, but I really love it, and I want to know more if you want.
Yeah, for sure. In fact, as Albert, I'm really obsessed by model that fascinate me. Like when I was a kid, like when I was 12 or 13, all the golden era of Golden Demon is something that is still fascinating to me, because all the styles were more pronounced. I think there were, maybe in France, there were 10 painters with really different styles. It was the same in Italy, it was the same in Spain, it was the same in UK. So this era is so inspiring for me. And I think all these styles start to fade out in the 2010 maybe. And all the styles are back, I think, since 5 or 6 or 7 years. I see more differences between the painter. So I think it's a nice time to look at Golden Demon. But I'm really fascinated by all these models, and recently I'm doing a lot of homage model to old painter that was fascinating, that are still the best for me. So with the Orc last year, I was really inspired by Jacques-Alexandre Gillois and Benoît Ménard, for example. And in fact, I sculpted the Orc dude like more than 10 years ago. And for this one, I was really inspired by different Nurgle model. Nurgle was really something in this era. Everybody was painting Nurgle in the 2000 in France.
That's right.
Nurgle was really a thing. And I think the first model which gave me the passion about painting was the Nurgle Lord by Thomas David.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if you can remember it. It's a really old one.
Sure.
Like this. And when I saw this model, I realized that wow, miniature painting is really something. You can do crazy things with that. And in the White Dwarf in France, we had an interview of Thomas, and he was explaining the process, and there was sketches like this one. I think he was really inspired by Jess Goodwin. There was a sketch with some arrow and some explanation about the textures, the details. It was fascinating for me. So this model was really inspired by his model, of course, and by other things that was really inspiring, like the model from Cyril Abati. I don't know if you can remember it.
Sure.
It's a yellow model.
Yeah.
And I took
I
a
love
lot
that
of inspiration.
Yeah, that model was one of my favorites since in that period. It was a real blast when he made that model. So yeah.
And for me, it's crazy because it's like when you think about music, and if you think about the best album of the history of music, for example, Fleetwood Mac, some album of Fleetwood Mac doesn't age at all. And this model from Cyril, is still really good.
Yeah.
Even for now, it's perfect. And the model of Thomas is the same. And I took a lot of inspiration of the Slayer Sword from Jacques-Alexandre Gillois as well. Yeah. All this color, all this detail, the way he's working with the texture. At this time, it was something so innovative. So this model is a kind of homage to all these things. And yeah, I try to create it something static in a way, not crazy, with a lot of, is really in one plan, really simple with a lot of texture. And I took a lot of different parts from this model. Initially, I wanted to recreate the guy from Thomas David, but I had to change things during the process, of course. But yeah, this is the story of the thing. And I took a lot of inspiration, and there is a lot of Easter egg even inside the process. Because if you are interested with miniature and miniature history and sculptors and things like that, you can see that the master is sculpted with Fimo champagne, like Sepp Herbe was doing it when he was working at Games Workshop. His first model before going to 3D was made with champagne Fimo clay. And all the guy from Rackham was using this clay, like Michael Bigot and all these things. So for me, the creation of this model was like a journey through time and space.
So nice, awesome. All this stuff
amazing.
Is awesome. I mean,
if people don't know which models Maxime was referring to, it's year 2000 and 2001 of the French Golden Demon.
Yeah.
So more or less.
Yeah, I don't know if there are photos online because it's very, very old.
Yeah, there are. Like people can check Demon Winner and
Demon Winner. Yeah.
We can try to find it out.
And it was really incredible because the one that Maxime was talking about by Thomas David, it was a Karn actually, the original model, as far as I remember, and it was completely resculpted. And I remember being a child and looking at that figure. And in my head, I couldn't understand that people could sculpt outside of Games Workshop. So I couldn't comprehend that normal hobbyists could sculpt as well. So as a kid, I would look at that figure and be like, I didn't quite comprehend how they did it. It was really incredible. And then when I went for the first time to the French Golden Demon, Jack Alexandra was there with his Slayer sword, Nurgle Terminator. And when I saw it in my hand, like how tiny the details were and it's hard to describe how incredible those figures are, even by today's standards. They are absolutely mental.
And this model was so high in terms of level that at this time, it was even hard for me to just understand how it was created. Like the Terminator from Jacques Alexandre, I think I started to understand how it was created 5 or 6 years after. Because this model, the picture is the worst.
Yeah,
but this model is
doesn't do justice at all. This thing in hand is like absolutely mind-blowing.
Probably you can, in this moment, you can understand when a person pick up one of your model, because it's exactly the same. Taking in hand one of your model is the same. I mean, how can it's possible to do that? Even if nowadays the techniques and sculpture is closer thanks to the network. But when I saw your figures in Golden Demon, I said, wow, it's an outstanding stuff. Seems like to look at 4K, 8K in real, because it's totally net, is clean, clear, readable. It's in an high standard. I mean, the level is outside standard level,
But I would like to emphasize one thing that Maxime mentioned and that I fully agree with. And it is that around, I don't know if it was 2010 or which year it was, but I think there were a lot of painting styles that converged into a single style, mostly because there were a lot of painters doing workshops, like Alfonso Giraudes in Spain, for example, and Jose Manuel Palomares, and they taught like a lot of people how to paint. Then Sergio Calvo, like there were all these amazing painters. But what happened was that a lot of people kind of, the styles kind of converged into a similar way of painting. No, not because they were teaching that that's the only right way to paint, of course not. But inevitably, there was And I think that in recent years, there's starting to be a little bit more creativity in this regard.
The thing is, this is another good point. I mean, when I see your figures, I can see the differences between you both, but you and the rest of the painters nowadays, because in a good or in a bad, with internet, every day we hit by tons of pictures, and then good days, I want to do this, I want to do that, and there's less self stuff into the process, into the painting or sculpting, but you've got your own characters, your own view. That I'd like to talk about your view more than anything else.
Yeah, well, I think being recognizable is important. I think in painting, because if you just paint the exact same way as someone else, you're just a copycat, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's
correct.
It's important to try to develop one's style, and the thing is, if you learn from many people and then you just choose what you like from each person that is teaching you, then you develop your style by yourself. It's not like it should come naturally, I feel like it's not something that people should, attempt at doing. I don't know, it's hard to explain, but at least in my experience, because I learned to paint before the internet era. Well, of course, the internet existed, but, there was only like White Dwarf articles and then maybe a little bit in Colony or not. There were also like forums and stuff. But 90% I learned how to paint by trial and error by myself. And so did all the painters from the Spanish team generation, basically. And that's why and the same thing with all the French guys that Maxime was mentioning, right? Everyone learned their own way, and that's why the styles were so marked, and so different from each other.
Yeah, and I think there is a difference as well between maybe now and before. And I'm not going to say that it was better before. This is not the thing, but I was really young, but I had the pleasure to meet this guy at this time. And in fact, most of these guys were painting in their studio all through the year. And at Golden Demon, it was the only occasion, the only meeting for them. And usually the conversation was not, oh, your model is so amazing, oh, it's so crazy, but it was more about being critique with each other. And all these guys were so humble and were really, they all the thing was to get feedback and to try to apply them to push the level. And I think this is really a thing. You really have to be humble if you want to improve. And as Albert was saying, I think this is one of the best advice maybe we can give to someone. If you have the feeling that you are stuck, you doesn't improve anymore, just stop what you are doing and find a model that you like and copy it. Because most of the time, because of Instagram, you are looking at things and you are like, oh, okay, this thing is awesome. I can see it. So now I'm able to do it. But no, it's more complicated. And even if you have the feeling that it's possible, you really have to try it yourself, because during the process you will see that there is things that you cannot understand, and you really have to try to be as close as possible. And at the end, you will realize that you are not that close, and this tiny difference between the model and your model is maybe your style. And the idea is to increase this gap between the inspiration and your thing. And recently, I'm obsessed by Albert James, and I'm trying to paint the same. And I don't understand how he's doing this smooth blending. That's so crazy. I really like that. Yeah.
Well, conversely, I'm impressed with Maxime's work. The Nurgle Marine from before. I mean, you see it in hand, and it's absolutely crazy. Like the textures on the armor panels here. They really motivated me to try to maybe do something less smooth and with more texture. Because even when I paint texture, it's a bit very clearly stippled or very clearly, like here on the cape.
Okay.
It's I mean, there's texture, but it's not nowhere as cool as Maxime's. So I want to improve on that a bit.
Yeah, but I mean,
now I'm
take
painting
inspiration.
smooth gems.
Yeah. But I mean, it's quite normal to take inspiration anywhere from everywhere. It's quite normal. It gives some refresh, rejoy to see, to look at good stuff. I like this stuff. I want to, not maybe copy, but take inspiration.
I agree. And I think there's one thing super important that people don't really think about when it comes to improving your painting, and it is analyzing others people's works without painting at all. You're in the subway, because most of my day I'm thinking about figures. If I'm in the train alone, I'm thinking about figures. I'm looking at pictures of figures, and in my head, non-stop, I'm thinking about ways or things that I could do, or new projects, or analyzing other people's work. And if I find a figure that I don't like, instead of just thinking I don't like it and going to the next one, I think, okay, why I don't like it? Why don't I like it? And then I try to analyze in my head why it is that I don't like it. And this exercise, it's actually very, very good, because not liking something is normal, and everyone has their personal tastes and stuff. But you might not like something because it's not your taste, but you can recognize that it's a well-done thing, or you cannot like something because it's actually poorly done, right? So it's important to distinguish between both things as well. And if you don't like it because it's poorly done, then in trying to analyze why this is poorly done is also important in my opinion.
Okay, it can gives you something.
Yeah. Exactly, because I don't really understand this way of painting about freestyling from the start. If you don't have a clear idea in your mind of what it is that you want to achieve, I mean, it's fun for sure. It's a fun exercise to just grab your paints and start painting without any purpose. But if you want to go the extra level, I think it's important to do this analysis work before you even start, applying any paint at all, and having a clear goal in your mind. And then, as we were mentioning before, this goal, the path to achieve this goal, or even the main goal might change a little bit, but at least there must be something that we are aiming for. If we're painting aimlessly, it's maybe not.
And I think that is a mindset. The technique is a thing, and the composition, the whole composition, you got the tools to make real what you are thinking of. Of course, the techniques and practice, and you have to do that. Anyone else, but then you got something in your mind that switch in something that goes over the technique.
I fully agree. I mean, technique, at the end of the day, it's just a tool, right? And anyone can achieve great technique given enough time of practice. It doesn't, technique is just, lots of hours of trying blendings or glazing or whatever. It's just a matter of time. But the understanding behind a good painting, that's much more difficult to achieve than a great technique. How many amazing space marines can we see on the internet? There's 2,000 people that can paint an incredible space marine, but the figures that really stand out, they go beyond technique. That's why sometimes I feel a bit sad when people comment on my models and all they say is it's so clean, or it's so the technique is amazing. And I feel like obviously I appreciate the comments, but I feel like maybe they are missing that behind the technique there's also a lot of thinking in terms of volumes, in terms of light, in terms of color choices. It's not just nice blends and that's it. So
what I see when I see with your figure is yourself. I mean, it's you, is Albert. When I see the figures that you paint, this is Albert. I mean, Albert, the mindset of Albert is this. Is not. I'm not underrating. I mean, it's not. It's a compliment. It's a compliment for me.
Yeah, it was just a general comment. That what I meant to say is that sometimes technique can hide a lot of errors and mistakes. And if people see a nice blend, they think that that's a good figure, and not necessarily that is the case. As a matter of fact, if you give me two figures and one is perfect blends, but the foundations of light and volumes are wrong, I might prefer another figure which is maybe not perfectly blended, but instead the sketch of the main volumes and light is right. That for me is a better figure than the perfectly blended one. That is wrong in terms of the foundations. You know what I mean?
Yes, you said in a lesson that we did, and you said the same. I mean, the last time because I don't know if this is for I don't know if you are doing right now the workshop in private workshop in remotely, but Albert does workshops.
Yeah, I run a private coach.
Can I say that?
Yeah, of course. That's good publicity for me. So.
Okay, so very good. If you want to discover how the Albert think about a figure or see a figure or the composition, you can reach him in privately and ask for workshop. He's great teacher.
So what about this, Albert? This is probably the biggest figure you painted.
Yeah, that's right. By far as well.
Yeah. And tell us something about this figure, because it was on the World Model Expo. It was an amazing view when we were there. So tell us more, please. Yeah.
So this model was sculpted by Alan Carrasco, probably my favorite fantasy sculptor. So I had been wanting to collaborate with him for a long time. And I proposed to him this illustration, which is by Daniel Zron, Spanish illustrator. And basically, he sculpted it, I painted it, and we entered it in the World Model Expo. And people seemed to love it. And obviously, I was very happy with that. It took me a long time to complete this model, over a year, maybe a year and a half.
Wow.
But that's because every single, if you look at the model from below, even the inside of the helmet is perfectly blended, which is super stupid, because no one is ever gonna look at the model like that, right? But in my head, I need to feel like I completed
everything,
the part as well as I could, for my own sake, mentally, because that's the way how I approach figures. Just
how many PCs there is
like
on this model, Albert?
What's that, Maxime?
How many PCs there is on this model? Like, was the helmet a spare piece, or was it already inside the arm?
Oh, you mean the assembly of the figure?
Yeah.
So the shoulder pads are separate.
Yeah.
And then the arm of the sword is also separate. And the knife.
So it's mainly
and then small details like
a Fimo, and that's really heavy as well.
Yeah, and the knife is also separate, and the horn that he has on the back. That's
okay.
Basically, other than the shoulder pads and the arm with the sword, it's just one piece.
One big piece. Okay.
The most difficult part.
Heavy model.
Yeah. Actually, it was super heavy. The base was so heavy that my wrist was so painful by the end. Because this column is thick, like this, and it's maybe 25 centimeters tall. It's really heavy.
Is it made of plaster?
Yeah, the column is plaster.
Yeah,
and the base, I sculpted it with milliput.
Okay.
The rocks. But the most difficult part actually was painting the. If you can go to a close-up picture of the dwarf. Yeah.
This one?
So there's these medals hanging from the bone rings, right?
Yeah.
Kind of like a tear drop shaped medal.
Like
these ones
little
dangling, like they were freestanding on the screen.
Really?
Yeah. They were moving, So I had to paint. I created a special thing with cork, so that I could attach the medals in the position that they would be on the figure. And then I glued it. But it was so difficult to paint because they were moving along the ring. So engineering is important when you do a project. Like the order in which you do things is so important.
Absolutely. I agree.
Yeah.
It's amazing, really. Yeah.
I think it's one of the keys.
In Monte San Savino this year, if people want to see it, come to
fantastic.
Monte.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
I'm going to bring it there.
Yeah.
Nice.
So fascinating.
Yeah. It's amazing.
What about the colors? I saw once the draw that you mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't remember if it's the same colors, or did you
use the same color scheme?
Yeah.
Or
did you use the same color scheme, or
Are
you
you asking
changed
me?
something? Yeah, Albert.
Oh, in comparison to the illustration, you mean?
Yeah, because I saw once the illustration.
Yeah, I changed it a little bit. Because the illustration, everything is brown almost in the illustration.
Yeah.
They felt that it was important to, in order to distinguish the different elements, I took some creative licenses and I changed a few things. Like I made him blonde, for example, instead of brown beard, and small things like that. Because at the end of the day, I think it's important that the illustration is the basis of the project, but the goal is not to make a replica of
the copy.
That illustration,
Yeah.
right?
No.
People are only gonna compare illustration and figure. If you make an Instagram post one next to each other, then people are gonna, okay, this is the same, this is different, this is the same, this is different. But the product is the figure. It's not the illustration. The product is the figure, right? So it's important that it works as a figure. And if I have to diverge from the illustration in order to make the figure work, then so be it. And it's the same with the sculpt, actually. I was speaking with Alan about this, that the illustration, because it's not 3D, sometimes there's things that making it in 3D is impossible. So you have to make some adjustments, right? Make the helmet fit in the arm or whatever. Like you have to make adjustments, and it's the same thing.
I agree with you. And in the end, is your work. As
Exactly.
I always talk about the view, but because it is your view. I mean, it's not. I don't want to see a copy of the illustration.
That's
I want to see your view.
I mean, I did have the illustration printed next to me, and obviously I refer to it quite a lot. But at the end of the day, it's just a reference. It's not the goal to make a replica of that.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
But
sorry.
No, I was asking, will we ever see a sculpture made by Maxime and painted by Albert?
I would love to, but it would be stupid because
really
Maxime
nice
is a better painter than me. So why would I paint the figure that he sculpts?
No, that's interesting. Yeah, that's a good idea. Never.
And also, I'd like to know if the next Golden Demon, will we see Maxime Elf and Albert Moreto Nurgle?
I love Nurgle.
No. But not for this one, I think. Maybe the next one.
Maybe 2025.
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay, and so
Albert was asking to Maxime. Sorry, Fausto, where did you take inspiration or your view? I mean, you said before from the past, from the painters of the past, but nowadays,
I'm very inspired by illustration, as Albert. I think, like for the giant or the troll, it was.
Okay.
Yeah, I took a lot of inspiration from Paul Bonheur or Jesper Echting. I don't know if it's the right pronunciation, but I really like this guy. Like his color are really bright, and I think his illustration are really interesting to decline in miniature. But I took inspiration. For example, this one, the previous guy, I took a lot of inspiration from the movie The Name of the Rose. I really like this movie. It's one of my biggest all-time inspiration, for example. I really like the Dirty Monks and things like that. It's a universe that I really like. I think it's reminiscent of John Blanche, for example. And when I was a kid, I was fascinated by John Blanche. And this thing is basically the old world, but in real life. So, yeah. But what Albert was saying is really interesting, I think, because he was speaking about that you need to adjust something. You need to adapt a lot of decisions that were taken by an illustrator to make them right in 3D. because we are doing 3D models that are pretty small, we need to change a bit the decision. We need to focus on readability, for example. We need to focus on definition. And yeah, that's interesting. And lately I was really, sorry, low battery. I was really wondering about all this kind of thing, because recently we saw a lot of model really inspired by painting and illustration. And sometimes, for example, I like for the previous bust, I was inspired by all these painters like Kirill or Alfonso or all these people. For example, on this bust, there is a very strong lighting on the left side,
red.
And the bust is basically red on all this side. And I'm wondering if it's really something disinteresting to do, because I think I don't like when, for example, you lose the real color of the surface. And what I really like about Albert on his dwarf is he chose a lot of color and different color to make his model readable and to still keep a good definition. And I think it's a really interesting choice. Yeah, it's not easy to adapt an illustration.
Yeah, I agree with you. There's sometimes that I see figures that work in pictures, but not so good. I mean, not. This is a wrong word. I haven't got the same feeling in real. It's not.
They don't work in the same way.
No, usually it works. It works, but on a model, my pleasure is to discover the model, to discover all the texture, all the details, and to paint them with love and time to really, as I was saying, to really have a journey on the surface of the model. And when everything is the same color, for example, for my personal taste, I lose a bit of pleasure, I think.
Yeah,
I really like to put different color next to each other.
I understand what I mean.
Wonderful.
Do you like more paint or sculpt?
I think I like to sculpt, but it's more difficult. It's more difficult because, painting is pure pleasure. You can, even if you miss a detail or if something is not that good, it's not a big deal. But if you are doing a sculpt that is not good, if it's produced, a lot of people will suffer from this mistake. And if it's not produced, you will spend countless hours painting your mistake and doing a lot of layer on top of this mistake. And sometimes, I'm more anxious when it comes to sculpting.
Yeah. You know, Michelangelo said that painting is for losers and that the true art is a sculpture. So
I don't know. I really don't know, but I think 2D painting is as well a bit different, because 2D painting is as sculpting, because there is a lot of mistakes that you can do. When the model is here and well defined, it's always easier for me.
I'm reading this question from Nicholas asking, what do we think about rim light on miniatures? In my opinion,
that's my question.
Yeah, well, actually, you touched on it a little bit before when you showed that figure with the red plane.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, I like it, but only insofar as it still works as a 3D model. And so when you look at the figure from where the source of light is creating the rim light, that view of the figure has to look nice as well, because we're doing 3D objects. We're not doing 2D illustration in 3D, right? So like there was this, was it Big Child? They were doing a lot of rim lights on their chivis, which obviously works fantastically for promotion.
Sometimes that was just a line.
Exactly. So for promotion purposes, for the picture at the box art, it's fantastic. But if I see them in hand, I don't like that approach very much, because then it doesn't really work from that view. And we're painting figures. We're not painting 2D things, right? So
yeah, I agree with
that some people like it, but
yeah,
it's not.
I agree with Maxime. When you turn the figure and you see all green or red, I lose interest. Because this is a red surface.
Yeah, it depends as well, though, because a lot of people painting. I mean, I'm by no means an OSL master whatsoever. I hardly paint OSL to begin with.
Yeah.
But what I find a lot is that people painting OSL, they don't adjust. Let's say red. You do a red OSL. They don't adjust the red to the color
texture.
that this red is impacting.
Yeah.
And they will paint the whole thing. The skin is going to be red. The dark leathers are going to be the exact same red as the skin. The blue robes are going to be the exact same red. And this shouldn't be like that, right? Because the way the red will impact a white skin is not the same as it will impact a dark blue. So,
and that's the makes difference.
If the OSL is painted properly, then you can still create a lot of interest, and you can see that.
That's the point. That's the point. That's make the difference. I mean, you can for sure you can paint all red, but in that red you can create something interesting. So, but this is the difference between a good job and something else.
And Albert, I was speaking not about the result. I really like strong OSL, but in my personal taste, like when I'm doing it, I like the kid approach that you know, when you were coloring images when you were a kid, you wanted to have distinct color for some different area. And when I'm painting a model, it's pretty much the same. I like to put a purple thing next to a yellowy thing, and I really like to play with this different color. And what I'm trying to do on my last model is really to apply the style of heavy metal, for example, that is really readable with different color that next to each other, they help to have a readability and to put maybe a little bit more texture on top. And this is really, really nice to do and to create, because it's more a representative approach. I don't know if I can say that, but you are more on the surface of the thing and less on the illustration way of the thing. It's more about, I don't know, it's really use the 3D of the model. And that's interesting as well, I think, to experiment with. Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, we spoke about this, right, Maxime, when I came to Paris a few months ago.
Yeah.
So I fully agree.
The same obsession for 9 months now. Yeah. You know, I don't, we spoke about this as well, but for me, Benoît Ménard is still one of the best painter ever. And he work a lot this way, like nice plain area with strong colors and a lot of texture on top. And when you see his model, it looks so simple, but when you look it closely, you can see that there is a lot of intention, a lot of details. And I would like to see someone doing things with this definition and to add on top lights. I think this could be really interesting. But Rémi Tremblay was doing a little bit this kind of thing with the Barbarian bust in Monte San Savino, I think. There was a light ambience, light, but with a lot of texture. Yeah.
It's a very different way of painting as well. They start with a white undercoat. I saw your story, by the way, the other day, Maxime, about about that. So it's more of, well, it's a bit. I suppose Chris Clayton also paints in the same sort of way. You know, starting with a light, very light base coat, and then working on the transparent. You know, making use of transparency of the painting itself to create all these different depths of skin tones and so on.
Really? So you're going to you use gray tones?
Undercoat.
Well, not me. I am talking about the
not you, Albert. I mean, Maxime. Do you use a gray tones, and then you, with the layers of colors, you're going to give colors of the on the figure?
Yeah, on my last model, when I want to make something for competition, because when it's not for competition, I'm using black primer like everyone else. But if I want to really push my painting, I start with a white primer, and then I start with a mid-tone for all the colors, and then I start by applying shadows with really diluted colors, and I start to go from mid to the shadows, and then I start to put light on top. The lights are more opaque, less diluted, to really keep a nice definition. And on the last model, I try to experiment with something. When all these layers are done, I start by base coating again the model with white. No, I'm joking.
I was losing myself.
No. I'm sorry. No, this is a joke. But this is barely true. Almost true. In fact, I start by base coating again, but with inks. So if, for example, if the area is yellow, I start to put my shadows and then my lights, and I push my lights really to the white to have something a little bit over contrast in terms of light.
Okay.
Because when you are using, for example, I think everyone have experimented with this. You can, if you put a thin coat of yellow on top of a white primer, the yellow is so shiny, so light, and so I push all the light with a lot of white, and then I start by base coating again in a way with a lot of glazes of ink, and then I work back on the lights with more white, and I think it gives nice results. And these last two stages are so enjoyable to create.
And you, Albert, you're going to sketch and then blend. Like for example,
I
now.
start with. Hold on, because Fabrizio seems to be having internet problems.
Yeah.
I have so many problems. I can't hear a lot, but anyway, let's go.
There's a latency.
Yeah. So by the way, I wanted to suggest, because I have it there, the Wraithbone color spray by Games Workshop that they released a few months ago, a year ago or 2 years ago or something. It's a really beautiful bone color, and it's so fine. Like because and even the new white spray, it's also really fine. I mean, white spray by Games Workshop used to be very problematic. Used to create this.
Yeah.
The new one is really good, and the bone, whatever Wraithbone, I think it's called, it's really nice as well. So if people want to try Maxime's approach, I suggest they give it a try.
Yeah, they are really good. Back in the days, I was using the Tamiya spray for the white, because the white from Games Workshop was not that good.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, these days what I use is mostly a black undercoat and then a white, white on top. Yeah, from the more or less the direction of light.
And are you using, Albert? Sorry, a technical question. Mm-hmm. Are you using for the pre-shading? Are you using white inks or white paint? Because I saw some people are using white inks to have smoother results, but I tried and the paints does not stick so well on this.
Really? I'm using the Liquitex white ink for that. And it's working well for me.
This one.
That very one.
This one.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
You don't need to. I mean, technically, it's not meant for that because it's an ink and an ink on top of black. Maybe it's not the wisest thing, but I've been doing it for a while now, and it goes well for me.
It's very smooth.
It works.
Yeah, because before that, I used the Vallejo Surface Primer, the white on top of the black, but that wasn't. Didn't work as well. For
but Albert, sorry, you use. We are talking about questions right now.
This is crazy.
Okay.
This is crazy.
Sorry. Cool. No problem. I was asking.
No sponsor. I buy this one.
He has no sponsors at all. Come on, guys.
Abyssal is your new sponsor, I think.
Absolutely.
Albert, sorry, I was asking about the pre-shading. You do pre-shading, but just like a reference, or because
it's not really a pre-shading, it's more of a pre-lighting almost, right? Because I'm doing this work with white on black, so the pre-shading is what's left from this work. But then again, I change it when I paint. It's just to have a lighter value color
reference
when I start painting, so that I can, the opacity is so much easier to achieve on a lighter base than on pure black, right?
Okay.
So,
Okay.
So just for curiosity, have you ever tried oil colors for miniatures?
Not me. I mean, maybe on a base, but no, not really. I work with acrylic mostly.
No. And you, Maxime?
I tried. I tried some, but this is honestly what I like in miniature is to be able to paint when I want without too much thing. I can just use water. And for example, when you sculpt, you are using toxic products that give you cancer. And if you are using oil paint, you will need You will need linseed oil or white spirit, and I really don't like that. Even when I'm oil painting on paper, I'm using water-based oil paints that are really good these days. And I really don't like.
It's also convenient as well, right?
Yeah, that's super convenient. The quality is really good.
Your hands don't stink like using all those spirits.
Exactly. Yeah, but I'm using some oil. I don't know the word. You know the oil drop that you put on machine. The oil wash. Sorry.
Oil wash. AK does a lot of this, I think. But my main issue with oils is their drying times, right? Because they take so long to dry, the whole painting approach is completely different from painting with acrylic. You don't work with layers like we do with acrylic. It's a whole different concept. So it's like you have to relearn how to paint if you want to paint in oils, almost, if you're only used to acrylics.
Exactly.
Okay.
I mean,
Fabrizio?
to get better at oils, but I'm not really into them.
It's different. It's completely different, but I think it's a good way to start something new. So
for sure.
Are you using it, Fabrizio?
I like the pigment. The oil pigment is very strong, so it's very.
It's very.
My only thing with oils is that each individual paint has very different characteristics. Some are super opaque, some are very transparent, and so on. With acrylic paints, more or less all of them have a very consistent behavior. I mean, fair enough. Yellows and reds, and maybe sometimes can be a little bit.
But we use a very thin line with oil, so you can control also this part. So it's not a real big problem. Yeah. And if I use 3 bulbs to dry the oil colors, and in 20-25 minutes it dries everything really.
Oh, really?
So
Maybe Fabrizio, if you run a workshop on oils, I will join as a student.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's do it for fun. Okay. Yeah. Okay. And what about Golden Demon? So we talk a lot about the artistic way, and what's your suggestion on Golden Demon? Because in this period where we are all we have a lot of ears closed at home, so we and now so many people wants to see. It's more. There are a lot of views with Warhammer things, and what's your suggestion on Golden Demon, on people who wants to be there, and if you want to say something about this, because you are very important on this stage. So
for sure, I think I've been talking quite a lot, so maybe Maxime, you want to go first, and then I supplement.
I think you can start. I don't know where to start. So many things. Let's go, Albert.
Well, I think some people, obviously, I mean, there's always going to be what's the word? Controversy surrounding Golden Demon. It's unavoidable. It's going to happen, no matter what. But when you enter a contest, it is important to be aware of what contest you are entering, right? It's stupid to do an idea that already before even entering, it's not going to be appreciated in that contest, right? If you like to paint in a way that is not appreciated at Golden Demon, that's all fine. That's fully respectable. But then don't enter it expecting that you should win in that competition, right? Because you already know that the judging criteria will not favor that style. So maybe in that case, you should try other kind of shows, like maybe at Monte San Savino, a more artsy style with more marked brushstroke or whatever will be more appreciated. So it's important to have in mind that for sure each contest has its own particularities when it comes to judging, and having this clear in the head is important, because if not, then disasters happen. People spending a gazillion hours on projects with a style that maybe is not what Games Workshop is after. So this is important to keep in mind. Secondly,
I think I'm just adding something on top. This is really interesting, because I think Golden Demon is for me the only contest where you exactly know the rules. Like the rules are clear. There is an IP. You know what you are supposed to do or not, what is not expected. So I think it's really interesting. If you have a contest, it's interesting to tell everyone what are the rules. And I really don't rely on the supposed objectivity of a contest or of a judge. I have the feeling, but I know less the open competition. But in open competition, sometimes there is a team of judges with different background and different things. And the idea behind that is to try to create a simulated neutrality that does not exist. So I think if I was organizing a contest, for example, I think each year, the idea maybe could be to invite 3 different judges. And before the contest, maybe 12 months or I don't know, 8 months before the contest, I would ask to these judges to maybe do something like in the Festival de Cannes, like the judge can have a point of view and can try to defend something about their vision of miniature painting. And if I was organizing a contest, I would like to see the judge saying that, like, for me, painting is that, and I will judge that. And I think this could be interesting because all these contests could be a kind of masterclass. You know, a masterclass, when you do a masterclass, you are going to see someone. It's not always like a class. Sometimes the masterclass is about a project. You have to do a project and to have feedback after. And the thing is not about the prize, because the prize, I think it doesn't mean anything. But the thing is about what you will learn during the process and with the results. And in Golden Demon, you know the rules, you know that, and you can have feedback. So for me, it's really an interesting contest, and it's part of my life since I'm 12. So I think there is something, and there is a lot of us that are the same with this competition. There is a big thing around it. And yeah, I think in open competition, it could be really interesting to have a strong point of view. Alfonso tried to do something with a contest some years before, like he had a precise speech and a precise judgment and feedback. And I think this is really interesting. Sorry, interesting.
No, not at all. I agree. At the very least, at Golden Demon, they are consistent with what they look for, across years. And there's one misunderstanding though surrounding Golden Demon, and it is that you have to paint in one particular style to win. A very clean heavy metal style or whatever. I don't think that's the case at all.
Not anymore.
What is important is that whatever style you choose, it is super well finished. And the clear example is you have Chris Clayton, who has a sideshow style, or Tom Hughes with his Tau bust or the Orc bust this year. It's a completely different style from the traditional Games Workshop way of painting. But in their own style, you cannot do it better. It's the level of refinement is perfect in that style. Then you can paint like Maxime, or you can paint like me in different styles as well. But in our styles, we try to achieve as much refinement as we can. And that, I think, is ultimately the main purpose of the main thing that judges look for at Golden Demon.
I agree.
Yeah, but a more painterly approach, it's totally forbidden. Even if it's really well done, it's forbidden.
Exactly. And I don't deny that at all. But that was why I was making this original point, that if your style is painterly, maybe Golden Demon is not the contest for you. And that's what people should kind of evaluate before entering. And obviously, then there's respecting the Games Workshop lore and things like that. That is quite important.
Yeah. I did just 3 Golden Demon in my let's say painter's career, and but I'm having great fun. What I understood is that, as you said, as you mentioned, now the heavy metal style is quite forbidden, because the last editions of the Golden Demons have been won by different styles, like you, Maxime, like the Clayton. So this is a good thing, I think.
But I don't think the heavy metal style is forbidden, though. You had people like, what was his name, Maxime, the guy who won?
No, I mean, yeah, well,
with the squeaks.
Yeah.
Not well, Stanford as well, but no, not Stanford. He painted the squeaks. Remember last year?
Dave
Perryman. That's it. You know that's heavy metal style.
Yeah, I mean,
to the max. You know, and it was incredible.
Yeah, but maybe a wrong word, but they probably maybe the better word is they are accepting other styles.
Yeah.
And it's a good.
Well, maybe not all. Maybe the painterly style they don't really value, and I don't have any problem in agreeing with that. It's about participants should also kind of take that into account. That's my only point.
By the way, as you said, I agree with you. I mean, if you can show your style, but it has to be high, super, very fine.
And then I have two more recommendations for potential, people looking to enter Golden Demon. One is focus on fewer categories and try to do them as well as you can, rather than doing a million categories, hoping that there will be a weaker one and you will have a greater chance. It's better if you go with one figure or two figures and those one or two are at 95% quality than entering 10 at 60% quality, because even if you have 10 of them, if the quality is 60%, maybe you will not win at any category, right? So I think it's a better strategy to focus on fewer models, but work on them like crazy and make sure that there's no single mistake that the judges can point out that will go against you.
Okay.
So that's one thing. And the second thing, choose projects that you enjoy. That seems super cliche, like everyone says this, but it is really important, because if you're going to spend 1 million hours on a project, you may as well have fun while doing it, right? Otherwise, if you're not enjoying what you're doing, what's the point, in the first place? So
yeah, sure.
Yeah. On top of the first thing that Albert said, there was a quote from Jacques-Alexandre Gillois in A White Dwarf, like 20 years ago, and the guy was asking him, what is your best advice to win a Golden Demon? And he said, it's better to start with a simpler project, but really well executed. And he said, it's better to start with a successful goblin than with a failed dragon. And I think this is really something. It's better to, remember, Gavin Garza painted a basic skink tall like that, like really small, and he won a sword. So there is just, you have to push your skills to the max level, even if it's really, really small.
Okay.
Well, but that's something that is sad. That's something that is really sad in the same way, because I think most people won't take the risk to do big projects, because everything has to be so perfect that if you take a big model, you will have to spend maybe 2 years, and 2 years is too much time, I think, maybe. I know.
But 2 years is for you and me, Maxime, because we're very slow because of our way of painting. But David Arroba, he can paint the orc on board in 1 month, So
yeah, that's true.
I think we should speed up, man.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay. So,
in any case, I'm happy that Golden Demon is kind of going back to its glory days, almost, because there were a few years when, went downhill a little bit. There were no really good artists entering Golden. I mean, all the top guys, they were not going anymore. And I think in the last, just basically since, what was it? Well, since you, Maxime, won again.
Yeah.
2019, I think it's, it's become again a reference. A competition of reference.
Yeah, absolutely. When he turned back to be an important show, Golden Demon said something. So that's really important. That's why
last year in Nottingham it was incredible. I mean, the level was nuts.
Yeah. So. Yeah. And in Nottingham was very, very strong and very a joy for the eye. So really, really. In this one and the next one hopefully will be always better and better. So we'll see. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
The
We don't
ceremony
know.
was
We don't know.
amazing.
Yeah.
The last
What?
one. The
What
ceremony.
you don't know, Maxime?
I was saying that we don't know the date for the next Golden Demon.
No. Well, I suppose it's going to be May as well. I mean, the weird, the strange one was the October one last year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I think from now on, it's just going to be from, whatever.
I think it
like
was one of my
America,
favorite
America.
events
Yeah,
from
April.
the last year.
Okay. In
It
the
was
UK.
really nice.
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
So
absolutely.
you will be there both?
Hopefully, yes.
So
There's one thing that I would love that Games Workshop did, and it is what they used to do in France, which is invite the Slayer Sword winner to be judged the following year.
Okay.
It's such a
Yeah.
honor, if you win the sword, to be able to partake in the judging process the following year. So I wish that they did that. I don't think it's going to happen because of policy at Games Workshop, but it was a beautiful thing that they did.
Yeah, it was a good time when the Slayer Sword winner can take part in the jury. It was very good by Games Workshop. But I also think that hopefully my biggest goal for Golden Demon is to see something in Europe once again. So
yeah, totally.
Each part of Europe. It doesn't matter where, but Europe can. Because
Do you think it's possible?
I don't know.
I think so.
I don't know.
I think in the long run, maybe they will have like 3 of them, like continental Europe, England, and America.
USA. Yeah.
I mean,
It
it's
would
not
be really
America,
cool.
but I think I mean it's growing again, right? So
because
it deserves more attention. It deserves more energy from Games Workshop.
And the English one is very expensive and complicated to move from everywhere, I think so. And so I hope to have something in Europe. In any case, I'm very curious to see your new entries for the next one. I won't be there, but I will check for sure your stuff, because I love them. And let's see. And what about your next before Golden Demon? You will do something more, or Monte? You say, Albert?
Yeah, I'm gonna go to Monte for sure, and I would like to do something for it, because I don't know what I will do, but I would like to do something special for Monte. Just not to go with not empty hands, but just with old stuff. So
And you, Maxime?
Yeah, I try to go to Monte since maybe, I don't know, it's a running joke now. I try to go to Monte since 4 years or 5 years or 6 years. And last year I had my hotel booked, I had my car booked, I had everything. But because of the work, I wasn't able to go. So this year I would like to come, and I would like to finish a new bust, a new sculpted bust, a simple project, but something finished.
Okay. That's good. That's really good.
Okay.
So I think we can close the talk. Really, thank you very much to be here with us, and it was really nice. I'm very happy to have you here. Sorry, because I have some problem with internet and I can't hear very well. So
me too.
That's a big problem for me. But
thanks for the invitation.
It's a pleasure.
Thanks to you guys. Thanks to you to be here. Absolutely.
Thank you very much. And
thanks for the comments. Did we miss anybody asking something though?
Yeah, for sure.
No.
Someone was asking if we are planning to do any historical based project figure.
I would love to, but it's opportunity cost, right? So if I do something historical, I don't do fantasy things, and I have very limited time. I can only choose 1 or 2 projects per year, so I may as well do something fantasy. But my brother, he keeps telling me you should do something historical all the time. So maybe.
I want to sculpt a soldier from the World War II, a French soldier, since 15 years, I think. So maybe one day I will do a sculpted and painted soldier. Yeah.
Another project in the backlog. Yeah.
Maybe for
we
the
will
next.
Die before.
Maybe for
the
the
project.
Maybe
do it as a. Or maybe do it as a space marine, so you can bring it to Golden Demon.
I want to try to play the game of historical. Like I want to have the color accurate. I want to have all the buckle and all the things accurate. I really want to play this game to understand that. I'm always fascinated by the model from, I don't know, the 90s, sculpted by Latour. Everything was so creative and precise at the same time. It's so inspiring as well.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, we were about to close, and I came up with.
No,
sorry.
It's good. It's good. It's fine. If you have something to say, just say. No worries.
That's fine. No more question, I think.
Yeah. That's all, I think. So, Guy, really, thank you very much, and see you soon. Have a nice summer, and go to paint. Okay. Let's go to paint.
I will buy an aircon maybe so that I can start painting again.
Cool.
Right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.